Welcome to New Light Living Podcast. I'm Ulrika Sullivan. I'm an intuitive spiritual life coach and a galactic astrologer. This video is a galactic astrology reading of the Taurus full moon lunar eclipse on October 28th at 5 degrees and 9 minutes. And wow, isn't this lunar eclipse something else? Because the lunar eclipse, the moon, is opposite the Shapley Attractor, and the sun is conjunct the Shapley Attractor. So yes, the full moon is when the moon and the sun is opposite each other, and the sun is clearly right there, bringing in and highlighting to us the multiverse of energy that we have at play at this time. Also, I want to highlight that Mars 2 weeks ago at the solar eclipse was in that position of conjunct the Shapley Attractor. So here we truly have a powerful energy at play. Are you curious about your own galactic alignments? Download my Galactic Alignments reference guide, and you can find the link in the description box below. First, I want to say welcome to all the new subscribers and new viewers. You may be here for the first time, so welcome. If you're watching me again, you're coming back. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. What I do in these videos, I put an outer layer of fixed stars, celestial bodies, and galactic points to the traditional Western tropical astrology wheel. And that is to help us start to relate to multi-dimensional energy. In these videos, I pull out 3 key themes that I see are highlighted in the cosmos at this time and put my interpretation along with intuitive insights to the energies that are going on. All right, so let's take a look at the chart for the lunar eclipse. And here we have the chart for the lunar eclipse. First, I want to point out the ruler of this lunar eclipse is Venus at 18 degrees of Virgo. And if you've been following me for a while, you recall we have been talking about this kite formation going on between Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus at the bottom, and with various focus at the tip of that kite. And this lunar eclipse, Venus is in the focus position here of that kite. Pretty wide, but still Venus is in position to be influential here. And as a result of this kite formation, we also have a grand Earth trine at play between Venus, Pluto, and Uranus, as you can see here. And next, I want to point out, of course, the lunar eclipse here, the sun and the moon opposite each other. The moon at 5 degrees of Taurus and the sun at 5 degrees of Scorpio. And the sun, as you can see here, is conjunct the Shapley Attractor. And if you haven't watched my videos before, I just want to highlight what we're talking about here. Shapley Attractor is located at 2 degrees of Scorpio and is the biggest driver of the universe that we know today. And I just wanted to show you this image. You may have seen it in previous videos as well, but if you have not, this is sometimes helpful to relate to, because often in galactic astrology, we talk about these black holes or universal drivers that have influence on us here in the Milky Way. And so here we have the first theme that I call a multiverse of healing and compassionate communication. And I'll walk you through what I see here. As you can see, the moon here, if we start there, is sextiling Saturn. And Saturn has, for the longest time, been conjunct the royal star Fomalhaut. Right now, however, Saturn is opposite the royal star Regulus and out of orb to be aligned with Fomalhaut. However, if you look at where Lilith is located opposite Saturn there, she is opposite now Fomalhaut. And we talked about this in the previous solar eclipse video, but this dynamic between the lunar eclipse and Saturn is one of healing. The alignment of Saturn opposite fixed star Regulus is one of heart healing. And of course, the sun is then trining Saturn in return on the opposite side of the moon. So Saturn is highlighted, and this opposition to the fixed star Regulus is one of guidance towards heart healing. If you look at the opposite Saturn here is Lilith, and she is trining the lunar eclipse, and of course sextiling the sun. So there's a flowing energy for her as well. And she is opposite Fomalhaut now. And Fomalhaut is that guidance of compassionate communication. Both royal stars, Fomalhaut and Regulus, are under angelic guidance, if you will. There's a lot of flowing angelic energy coming from these alignments. And with Saturn and Lilith involved here in this flowing energy between Saturn opposite Regulus and Lilith opposite Fomalhaut in association with the lunar eclipse is suggesting us to access this multiverse of universal wisdom through the Shapley Attractor, but use it to heal our heart, and to use it for compassionate communication, because we are under angelic protection and guidance at this point. I also want to point out that this sextile between the lunar eclipse and Saturn also are supported through the alignment to Andromeda-Mirach. Mirach is located at 0 degrees of Taurus. So she's right there in the vicinity of the lunar eclipse here. Andromeda-Mirach is associated with feminine beauty, but also partnerships. So Andromeda-Mirach aligned here with this multiverse of healing and compassionate communication is a beautiful feminine Venusian ruled fixed star, and Venus again is highlighted as part of being the ruler of this lunar eclipse. So I feel this is really beautiful energy that is infused here in this flow of energy that is providing this protective shield for us at this time. Fixed star Regulus is associated with Archangel Raphael and the green ray. And the green ray is this healing, nurturing energy. And the fixed star Fomalhaut is associated with Archangel Gabriel, which is part of this where the compassionate communication comes from. Gabriel. Here we have the second theme that I have called expansion of water mysteries. And I'll walk you through what I see here. We can start here with Jupiter down at 11 degrees of Taurus, opposite Mars and Mercury at 10 and 11 degrees of Scorpio. Both Mercury and Mars are conjunct the constellation Crux and the fixed star Acrux. And I want to show you here first a little bit about Crux as a constellation. Crux is located very close in proximity to the Centaurus constellation, where we have Alpha Centauri and Beta Centauri and more. Here I have shown you Crux, and it actually looks like a cross. And the fixed star Acrux is at the very bottom here. I've circled it with so that you can see exactly what fixed star we're talking about. Crux fixed star is often associated with water, but also with high achievement and success, mysteries, and also an energy of justice. So that's what a combination, right? What caught my attention with this alignment here in this lunar eclipse is the association with water and water mysteries, even the unseen mysteries and abilities of water. This fixed star is more of a Jupiterian type of energy, so it's expansive. And a fun fact is that often the Crux constellation overall has been associated with the Southern Cross, the Bermuda Triangle. And part of it is definitely, you know, the unknown forces around this area on our planet. And I have brought out a frog here for you to associate with this a constellation, because also there has been associations with amphibians, and Crux has also been associated with the bridge between water and earth. So it's associated with this bridge between the water and the unknowns of and capabilities of water that we may not have discovered yet, and also that bridge to earth, the manifestation, if you will, the physical realm. Let's go back to this chart, and as you can see here, there's a trine going from Jupiter to Lyra constellation, and the fixed star Lyra-Alathfar. And there's similarly a sextile from Mercury and Mars to Lyra-Alathfar. And Lyra-Alathfar is located at 10 degrees of Capricorn. So it's a flowing energy here between Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury, and Lyra-Alathfar in this theme. And the reason I point out this is that Lyra-Alathfar is associated with vibration and song, music, perhaps even light language. And if you recall a couple of videos back, at the full moon in July 3rd, I believe it was, Lyra-Alathfar was exactly conjunct that full moon. So there is a highlight here on vibration, on music, and the importance of water, that it can play within the knowledge of how we can use water as knowledge, vibration, music, etc. So these are ideas and influences in terms of energy that is coming to us here on Earth, that's influencing us here on Earth right now through this trine and sextile with Jupiter, the expander, and Mars and Mercury, who are really our closest personal planets. So there is a personal influence here through Lyra-Alathfar at this time. So here we have the third theme, and I want to go back and highlight Venus because she's highly influential here in the alignments that she's making to fixed stars. First, I want to highlight the trine that she's making to the fixed star Lyra-Sheliak at 19 degrees of Capricorn. And also she's making two squares, one to Orion-Rigel at the bottom of the chart here at 17 degrees of Gemini, and also to the Great Attractor, one of the black holes, one of the major big black holes at 14 degrees of Sagittarius. So there's no secret that we are on planet Earth here dealing with polarity, and that's highlighted through that square between Venus and Orion-Rigel. Now, we also have the square between the Great Attractor and Venus. And the way I translate that is that and the square to the Great Attractor is suggesting to us that the polarity that we experience here on Earth right now is actually bigger than our own planet. It is associated with galactic heritage, often associated with the constellation of Orion in terms of extreme polarity. And we are invited to start relate to a bigger perspective, perhaps a cosmic perspective, a galactic perspective around these energies, particularly around the polarity that we are experiencing, many of us at this time. These two squares are also suggesting to us that it's time for this energy to come up to the surface for balancing. And that's where the link to the Lyra-Sheliak energy, that fixed star, is associated with grounding, healing, highlighting the need for grounding and healing and balancing. And Lyra-Sheliak is also a very Venusian energy here. So the trine between Venus and Lyra-Sheliak is effortless and flowing. So we are receiving support from Lyra-Sheliak energy and that fixed star, the alignment here in the trine, to help us transmute and work through the polarized energy here from Orion constellation, but also to realize and start to relate to that bigger perspective that this polarized energy may be associated with our galactic heritage eons ago. And I wanted to show you Lyra-Alathfar, and here is the Lyra constellation. And this image, I had to put Alathfar in through that little orange star, but that's the location of the fixed star Lyra-Alathfar. And you can also see the fixed star Lyra-Sheliak here, also highlighted with a little orange star here. And in summary, Lyra is supporting us at this lunar eclipse with our association to music, to light language, to allow us to be supported through our journey of polarity. And one thing that I didn't mention in my chart is that Chiron is square Lyra-Vega here. And that is a growth opportunity for us to consider. Chiron square Lyra-Vega is inviting us to consider our spiritual tools to a greater extent, our relationship with sound, for example, sound healing, other modalities of healing that are suggested. So the square to Lyra-Vega from Chiron is really that invitation to grow and that growth opportunity that may entail. So in summary, Venus, as the ruler of this lunar eclipse, is highly influential, connecting with Venusian energy fixed stars, such as the ones in Lyra that I mentioned earlier, Lyra-Sheliak, Lyra-Alathfar, Lyra-Vega, is very much a feminine energy supporting us at this time. We also have Shapley Attractor opposite the lunar eclipse here, the sun conjunct Shapley Attractor and the moon opposite the Shapley Attractor. That is an invitation to us to open up and expand our perspective to a multiverse of universal wisdom. It really is highlighted here in the lunar eclipse. And the first theme that we talked about was that multiverse of healing and compassionate communication provided by Saturn's opposition to Lilith and their oppositions to royal star Regulus and royal star Fomalhaut, respectively, forming this flowing energy with the lunar eclipse as a protective shield for us at this time, with this compassionate communication to us, angelic guidance, basically. The second theme was focusing around that expansive water mysteries and the involvement here in alignment to the Crux constellation and the fixed star Crux by Mars and Mercury. And opposite Mars and Mercury is Jupiter, expanding, also contributing to the expansion here. And that beautiful trine and sextile, respectively, to Lyra-Alathfar, very much focused on music, vibration, and also the feminine energies here. So that flowing energy is beautiful. I found it very interesting that the lunar eclipse here is highlighting this bridge between water and earth through the alignment to Crux constellation, and particularly the fixed star Acrux. And the third theme here with Venus highlighted through two squares, one to Orion-Rigel and one to the Great Attractor. Again, squares, I consider them in galactic astrology to be growth opportunities because it's all about expansion. And Orion polarity is highlighted here, of course. And as we can work through and transmute that polarity in concert with the square to Great Attractor, which is really inviting us to think bigger, expand our perspective in using the feminine energies to do so. And that beautiful trine to Lyra-Sheliak here as well is just an additional influence and infusion of that feminine energy, inviting us to stay grounded and find ways to feel balanced and grounded. So that's a great message, I feel, to end this reading with. So I have some questions for you to work with that are tailored to this energy at this lunar eclipse. The first question is, how can you open up to a bigger perspective and allow compassion to be in the forefront of your communication? And while you're doing that, how can you start listen to guidance from your spirit guides? The second question is, what is your relationship to music, to sound, and to vibration? How can you expand your experience with sound? And also, how can you allow the elements, such as water and earth, to come into the mix of your experience with music and sound, perhaps sound healing? So it's an invitation to expand our perspective on vibration, music, and how we're using that in our life to stay grounded. And that led me into the third question, which is pretty obvious at this point. How can you stay grounded? How can you stay balanced? This is an invitation to expand and strengthen your spiritual practice. What can you add or what can you remove from your spiritual practice to create more space for that balance and healing that we're invited to do at this time? Are you curious about your own galactic alignments? Download my Galactic Alignments reference guide. Link is at the bottom here. I can't wait to see you soon again. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening and watching. Thank you for coming back. Thank you if you're new. And I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.